what makes one an exceptional presenter? Is it flashy visuals? Is it the tone of voice? Is it the actual message or content? Or does it have something to do with body language, our gestures, and our stance? Today, we want to talk to you about this latter point. How do we use our body effectively to communicate our message? Because we have so many great ideas here, but if they remain in our head, don't actually link up with the audience, our message will not have arrived. Our message will not have resonated with the audience. So body language plays a powerful role in how we communicate. And unfortunately, body language can also distract. We've seen this clip before of Michael Bay, right? He speaks, the teleprompter, he loses sight of what's happening, the teleprompter doesn't sync up, and he struggles. And all you see is his body moving around, and he's nervous. He's exuding it. So I want to give some color commentary as we rewatch as a class what is happening. So his stance at the beginning, it's okay, but his hands, he's meshing them. And now he's starting to turn from the audience. Again, his hands are clasped. He's looking a bit down, not at all of you, the audience, and he spins. He shows his back to the audience. And he can't regain composure. He's swaying back and forth. He's looking down. He's avoiding the audience. His nerves are coming out. Again, his hands, he's wringing them. And now I think he's looking at the back of the stage. That's the exact opposite place from where you want to actually look. He's incredibly nervous, and now he exits stage. We all want to avoid our own Michael Bay moments when we communicate. The last thing we want at a startup pitch or meeting is to have that happen, is to have the body language take over from the message. If we lose sight of what our body is doing, all people can pay attention to is the body itself, right? It'll take over. So that comes down to not only can it distract, but the body language is your superhero, right? That it can change, it's your superpower. Sorry, not a superhero. You're the superhero. But it's your superpower in the sense that we can utilize it to enhance and communicate with every person in the audience. We want to talk about that today from 3 vantage points. Colin is going to get us started in talking about how posture breeds success. Jung-Joon is then going to talk about how gestures to strengthen your message. Finally, Jennifer is going to close us out with how we think about the body posture of you, the audience, and how to interact with that. Colin, take us away.
Communication begins before you even open your mouth to speak. Your audience's first impression of you is your posture and your position. And so it's important to know both how to stand as well as where to stand. And perhaps it's fairly obvious, but you should stand facing the people you're talking to. Don't stand facing your visuals and turning your back to the audience. That's not what we want to do. We can't communicate that way. It's also important to know where you're standing in the room. A position of strength in this room is somewhere in this center box. As long as you're moving around in the center, you're doing pretty well. Where you don't want to be is off in the corner cowering, or especially in front of any distractions. And this room is pretty good. It doesn't have that many distractions, but there is a window. And outside this window, there are cars, there are buses, there are bikers. And when I was standing over there, probably about half of you could see in your peripheral vision outside the window. And if a car were to drive by, your instinct, your reaction, would be to look out the window, and that would break your concentration and our conversation. And we don't want that either. And now that you know where to stand, it's important to know how to stand. So we're going to demonstrate a few positions, a few bad positions, that we've seen from us and some of you guys, and even from the presentations earlier today, that you shouldn't do. And the first one is hands in your pockets. This comes off as nonchalant, your shoulders tend to roll forwards, and it's very difficult to convey a strong message from this position. The second one is hands on your hips. When your hands are on your hips, you tend to look overbearing and powerful. And the third one is the fig leaf. This is where you're protecting your family jewels with your hands. And while it also looks timid, It's especially bad when you decide to gesture from this position.
I want to show you something.
You look like you're flashing the audience, and that's not a good thing. So how should you stand? And if I could actually get all of you to stand, I'll lead you through a short demonstration on how to find your base posture. So once you've stood, be mindful of the people next to you and place your feet hip-width apart. Close your eyes and look up towards the ceiling and lift your hands above your head. Get a good stretch underneath your shoulders and let your arms drop to the side. When you open your eyes, look down. This is your base posture. Thank you very much for participating. You guys can sit down now. Now that you've found your base posture, this is where you should gesture from, and it's where you should return to when you're finished gesturing. It may not feel the most comfortable, but it looks the most comfortable to your audience. Remember that your posture and position are the audience's first impression of you. But now that you know how to stand still, it's time to learn how to move.
Gestures are important because it helps you communicate better. For example, if you use gestures, the audience remembers twice as much. It also helps you, the future speakers too, because it helps your memory when you speak. Also, beside the transition, your hand and arm movement is the biggest movement that the audience can see. You can either use it wisely or waste it on random and distracting gestures. I'm going to show you 3 types of gestures: the give, the show, and the chop. Here's an example. This quarter at the GSB, I went to this communications class. It was so great. I mean, you could feel that your skills are improving. I think this was the best class I've ever taken. Let's rewind and see what happened. The give. This quarter at the GSB, I went to this communications class. So this gesture is used to give the audience the facts or the options. Remember to have your palms up, not down. We'll get to that in a minute. The show. I mean, you could feel that your skills are improving. This kind of gesture has the largest variety, and your imagination is the limit. Just remember that the gesture and the message has to match. For example, you can't say, "Profits are rising," with a gesture like this. So, congruency and creativity. The chop. I think this was the best class I've ever taken. So, this gesture is used to deliver strong opinion. You can either use it one hand, or you can use both hands. You can use both hands and do a larger chop, which will deliver a stronger message.